Okay, good evening, Matilde. Thanks for waiting. How are you? How do you feel today?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you.
Great. That's great to know. Well, as always, we're going to continue working. Again, yesterday I had to assign this. I totally forgot assigning, so I'm going to do now as we work in the introduction for today's work. All right, so I don't forget again. I have to work on a review. Again, yesterday we got to see gerunds, Matilde, and we saw that we have exceptions, right? You used those exceptions before, as you told me, and some of them, right, were more familiar to you than others, but all of them, right, were very simple to get. So let's try to review that very simply. How can you summarize the information for gerunds? Try to mention the verbs and try to mention the differences that you remember, please, Matilde.
Okay, so I remember that we saw some verbs like stop, trying, remember, forget, and in these verbs, there are some situations that they have to be, um, yeah, they have to be thinked in gerund or infinitive. Um, yeah, well, and in each verb, it's a bit different. Um, what else? Yeah, I would say that.
Okay. All right. That's great. Now let's try to go just a little bit more in detail to those verbs. For example, the first two that are the ones that you said that perhaps you didn't use as much as the last two. And I'm talking about remember and forget. So what's the difference between remember when you use them with gerunds and when infinitive, for example? What is the difference that you remember there, Mati?
Well, let me think. For forget, um, let me think of an example. When I'm referring to something that I forget, but um, no, I think I'm confusing with remember. Because I forget to open the door, and that's because I'm referring to something that I forget about it, but I didn't fix it. I don't know how to explain it.
All right, yes, we're there. We're close, right? There's missing some details to make that even clearer. For example, again, try to first give a couple of examples. Let's just start with remember, right? When you say, I remember, right, going to that party, or I remembered to go to that party, what is the main difference? Which one is talking about something that you actually already did in the past, or something that you just remember that you were about to forget? So what do you
yeah,
see?
yeah, right. Yeah, I remembered that something in the past, like when I was a child, I used to do that, or yeah, like the example, I remembered I used to be a forgetful person. That was something of the past, and
And in that case, would you use infinitive or a gerund? What would you say? Would you say, I remember being a forgetful person, or I remember to be a forgetful person? Which one would be the correct in that case?
in that case, I remember being a forgetful
Correct.
person.
Exactly. Uh-huh. And how would it be in the case of infinitive with remember?
Um, for example, I remember while I was driving home, I remembered I don't know, I think it's different. I remember I needed to be somewhere else, but I don't think that's.
The idea is good, but remember to use this difference, we need to use infinitive just right after remember. So it's
Yeah.
enough easy, for example, right? When I was driving home, I remembered to buy, right, some, I don't know, some food. I almost forgot about it, but luckily or fortunately, right, I remembered just before getting home, right? So it's something that you were about to forget, that can be a thing that can help you remember, right? That expression, something about to be forgotten, right? So when you're about to forget something, you can say remember to do something. But when you're talking about a memory, something that you remember that you did, right, in the past and already happened, dangerous, right? So just one then example, please, Matilde. What example can you give me? You can still use the example that you were telling me, but remember, it is great the way you're saying, but just to make this clear, let's use the infinitive just right after remember. So how would it be in the second case?
Yeah. Well, while I was driving home, I remember to buy some groceries.
Okay, all right. Yes, so that would be with remember, right? I believe
Mhm.
then we have it there. A gerund as memory, infinitive as something about to be forgotten, right? Great. Now let's go to forget, right? That can be similar, but also can be a little bit tricky sometimes. So what do you say? The difference between I forgot, right, locking my door, and I forgot, or I almost, all right, I almost forgot to lock my door. What is it going to be the difference between those two, gerund and infinitive?
Okay, if I'm not wrong, if I forgot to lock, I forgot locking my door. It's done. I mean, I forgot about it and it's there. And I forgot to lock my door, or I don't know if I'm mixing it. Um, it's the situation, I this almost thing that I could have forgot to do that thing, but at the last moment I remembered and I did it.
Yes, and in that one, actually, right, you're right. And in the second one, actually, it's something that perhaps even you're even telling that perhaps you didn't do it at the end, right? For example, you are in a meeting, right, and you are already there, and you say, "Oh, I think I forgot to lock my door," right? So you didn't do it at the end. But it's different if you say, no, actually, yes, I think I forgot locking my door because I did it, but I forgot that I did that action, right? So something is related, forgetting something that happened, and the other one is saying what you actually forgot to do because you didn't do it, right? So the first one, ing, you did it, but you forgot you did it. And the second one, infinitive, is that you didn't do it. Perhaps after that, you did it because you said that you forgot, and then you have to go back and do it. But perhaps it's something that you actually just forgot, and that action never happened, right? Because you actually forgot. All right, so that will be then the difference. Let's try to give just a couple of extra examples, please, Matilde, with forget.
Mhm.
What example can you give me with ing and with infinitive, and try to justify or show a context in which it is clear why we're using each of them? How would it be? What do you say?
Okay, so um, I forgot, I forgot feeding my dogs. Luckily, I remembered before leaving my house.
All right, but in that one, remember, if you use ing, it's actually something that you already did, right? So you actually pet your dogs, but you don't remember that you did it, right?
Oh,
That
yeah,
has to be
right.
with ing, right? So
Yeah,
what could it be then with that logic?
yeah, it's like I forget. Mm, I mean, it could be. I mean, in the same example, like I forget feeding. Like I thought I forget feeding my dogs, but
Yes, yes, in the same, but actually it depends, right? Because actually perhaps it can be a little bit complicated because you can use actually that in infinitive directly. In the example that you gave me, it is infinitive over there, right? I forgot to, or I was about, you can say, right? You can actually use that expression because if you say, I forgot, it's that actually happened. But I believe that before you left, right, your home at that
mm,
time, you did it. So at the end, you didn't forget, right? You remembered. So in that example, you can even say then the expression, I was about to forget, right? I was about to forget feeding my dogs, but fortunately, I did remember and I right fed them. So that can be one option. Or again, usually is something, as I mentioned in infinitive, something that at the end you never did. And you said, right, but I don't know what happened. I forgot to, uh, I don't know, right, to complete one assignment. I forgot to complete one assignment and I couldn't do it, right? That's why I'm asking to complete that one because at the end it never happened, right? So with
mm,
infinitive, in most of the cases, it is going to be something that didn't happen because you actually forgot that, right? But in the first one, it's better if you look for an example in which you are saying that you indeed did something that but you forgot doing that action. And again, it's very, very common when you repeat the action and you realize that you did it. But for example, right now, I'm assigning this, right? But I can say
mm,
tomorrow, okay, I think I didn't assign this Matilda, sorry, right? And I go to Pearson and I see that everything is already assigned. And I say, right, I forgot assigning this, right? But I already
yeah.
did it. So actually in that logic. So with that, what could it be? Let's try one more time, please. One example for each.
Mm.
One with ing, something that you already did, but you forgot, and one with infinitive, something that you actually didn't do, that you actually forgot.
Okay, so I forgot. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, I forget doing my taxes, but my accountant remembered me that we have done that already.
Yes, correct. That is good for gerund, and one for infinitive, please.
Um, I I forget to call the plumber to fix some things in home.
Yes.
I
Sorry.
think yeah. Mm.
That one again, it depends on the context, it depends on what you want to show, right? Usually, again, you say, I was doing many things. Actually, it's not necessary. Your example is correct, right? But that one, it would be better if you say that in past. Or you can say something that you always forget, right? So in that case, you can use
No.
present, right? I always forget to, I don't know, turn off the lights. right? I always forget that. But if it's specific, it's better to say that in past or in present perfect, right? I've forgotten to do this action, right? I've forgotten to call the plumber, or I forgot to call this person or that person, and so on, right? But again, it's valid and it is correct, so good. And there was one thing, yes, and also remember that I was also forgetting that you can use almost, right? And that word almost can help you use forget plus infinitive, right? And you can say, I almost forgot to do that, but actually you didn't forget at the end, right? But you were about to. It's similar to about to forget something. So that will be it. The next two, right, are try, and the other one was, let me remember. It was try
Stop.
and the other one is stop. Yes, that's it. Thank you. So those ones, I believe there are no major complications with those two. Those are the first ones that I wanted to practice as well as a form of a review. I don't know if you have questions or anything now before going to the lesson for today, Matilda. Actually, we have a couple of lessons. Let me know, please.
No, no, I don't think so. It's okay.
All right, good. So, just to be clear, if you can see my calendar over here, we
Okay.
started the previous, or actually this model on Thursday last week, right? It was Thursday. Well, it was officially, it had to start on Thursday, even though we had until Thursday to finish the previous model, right? And it extended, but it was this day. So
Yeah.
if we go to the videos, right, this is going to be the fourth class. So it was Thursday, Friday, then Monday and Tuesday now. Okay, so today is the fourth day. Now, then we should have the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday until Monday, the well, the 22nd. But again,
Mhm.
as we couldn't work on Thursday, Friday, all right, and even Monday, but at least we started actually working better on Monday, we're going to have these extra days and we're going to have this until the 24th. We can extend more, all right, if it's necessary. There's no problem with that. But let's try to achieve everything until the 24th, please, Matilde. I'm talking about this model, the units that, as you can see here, they are already assigned plus the three quizzes and the one final test. Okay, that will be the due date. But I don't know if you have questions or comments or suggestions about that before now really going to our lesson.
No, I think it's okay. I Yeah, the 24th. It's
Oh,
enough time, I think.
good. All right, so it means that we're good with Pearson. It will be you working, all right, on what's to do over here. Again, remember, if you get to have any problems, any trouble, you can always let me know. But on my side, right, then Pearson will be ready for you. All right. Now, let's then go to our, again, lessons that we have for today. Very simple ones. Again, because A10 is like the transition between the previous model, A9, and the next one that is going to be A11. But it's a new product, so they review a lot, at least in this first model. All right, so let's keep reviewing some of the things that we know, but it's important to reinforce. All right, now we know about the present perfect, and here we're going to see once again not only present perfect, but present perfect continuous. And we were discussing this, we were talking about these details, I believe, if I'm not alright mistaken. But if you remember, there is a difference, of course, between simple past and present perfect, but there's also a very, very little difference or possibilities between the present perfect and the present perfect continuous. Again, I think you mentioned that, but for this presentation, please, Matilde, what is the difference between the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous?
Okay, so I would say, well, in the continuous form, something is still developing. Like I've been cleaning my house for hours, so it's something that it started in the past, and I'm still doing it. And if I would say I have cleaned my house, it's something in the past. I probably don't know when it happened, but I'm not longer doing it.
All right, yes, yes, that is correct. The present perfect simple, sometimes it can also, right, be related to present, even future, but it's not as common as the present perfect continuous as you're saying, right? It's very, very likely that the present perfect continuous is still happening now, and perhaps it will continue, right, into the future. So yes, that's one of the, and I would say the most important element that divides these two possibilities. And also, as you mentioned, is the idea of having finished actions in indefinite, right, past in the present perfect. So, for example, we cannot use expressions such as twice, three times, four times with present perfect continuous, right? Because you are supposed to be finished with that action to say that you have done something once or twice, right? We cannot talk about that in a continuous form. So, those being perhaps the elements that define the difference between them, we're just going to read the examples. Actually, this was, we're just going to skip them. We have the simple past that we covered, the review, the difference. We know that. Again, if you want to review, let me know. We can go back. Then we have the expression. Then we have the present perfect, right? And these elements. But the important things that I want to practice a little bit more detail are just this expression, all right? Because we know the formulas, we know the structure and everything. So we're going to try to work on some ideas now, Matilde. So I'm going to please ask you to go to our document as I'm going to be reminding you these elements and I'm going to be dividing them. All right, so um, okay. As you're going there, I start with the word before. We know that before it only refers to a past situation, but it doesn't give us, right, the exact time when it happened. Right, so it's just about past, but indefinite past. Then we have number of times that this is very common for present perfect, right? Once, twice, I just mentioned that. Then you can simply choose not to use time expressions. That's a good idea for present perfect. Then you can use elements for periods of time. You can use this with the present perfect, but it is even better for the present perfect continuous, right? But with both, it works very well. Then you have already for emphasis on affirmative actions that happened, yet for emphasis on negative actions that haven't, right, happened yet. Just, right, for emphasis on the idea of simply, perhaps, or recently. It can be simply or recently, and ever for some questions, right? To know any time during your entire life. And you can also use never, that is not here, right, as a negative meaning for an affirmative sentence. Okay, so these are the expressions that I just want to reinforce just to have this lesson over here. Let me know, please, if you have any questions or comments before going to our, well, the practice or the sentences that I'm going to give you, Matilde. Let me know, please.
It's clear. Yeah.
All right, good. So we have, at least in terms of groups, we have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and eight. Okay, so we're going to write 8 ideas, just 8. In the ones that you have a group, of course, you have to pick just one of the possible options. And you can play with some other possibilities, Matilde, as this is going to be easy for you. I mean, just writing sentences. We don't have more complex things to do over there. So I'm going to ask you, please, to try to mix each of those sentences with, I mean, a second part, or to have two complete ideas as part of one. All right, I don't know if I'm clear with that. I mean, to have ideas like with a fanboy in the middle, right? Uh, one complete idea, comma, one of the fanboys, and for no sower, and the second complete idea. So that's going to be one sentence with one of these. All right, if it's possible, again, with some of them, it's not going to be possible because they cannot be that specific. But with the ones that you feel that you can do that, divided in two parts, or even playing with some transitional words. Okay, so it will be two sentences together. One complete sentence period or semicolon, your transitional word, comma, and the second complete idea. Okay, so again, that's extra so that you can still practice something, well, else besides this that I think that can be very simple. So I don't know if you have questions about that, Matilda. Let me know, please.
Okay. Yeah, so I have to make these 8 sentences, well, with these 2 ideas in each one of them. And yeah, with any
Yes,
topic, I just write them down.
exactly. Any topic, and also mentioned in the first part, actually, if you can do it, you can mix two of these, let's say before and once, I don't know, okay, I'm thinking about that, in the same idea that is connected by a transitional word. Okay, so the first idea is going to be with once, let's say, and then you
Mhm.
say a transitional word, and in the second part you use for. Okay, but again, only if it, of course, it's possible and if it's going to make sense. So you can write complex ideas, you can write two examples in one, all right, two examples in one, or even more if you find the way. All right, but again, the only thing I'm doing here is encouraging you to use the knowledge and the words that we have already used, that are the fanboys, the transitional words, the usage of punctuation marks, so that you can practice more than just the present perfect. Okay, so you look for the way, Matilde. Anything is going to be good as long as the connection of those ideas is, of course, logic. That's the only thing.
All right.
All right, so let's do it, please. Again, we're going to have some time that they can be complex, so it's going to be between 7 minutes and 8 minutes. If you get to finish before, let me know and we'll check. If not, after those 7 to 8 minutes, we check, please.
Okay,
All
good.
right, good. So let's begin, please. I'm going to start with the time. Okay, so we are with the 8 minutes. Let's see again what we got to start taking a look at that. If we are missing some ideas, we can complement that right after this. So I'm going to go there and we check that please. And I haven't even opened. Okay, so I'm going there. Let's click in a second.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so I'm here and there you go. So let's read please those ideas.
Now that I am reading it, okay. I have never been in Australia, and now that I read it, I think it should be two. I have never been in Australia before. It's such a beautiful country. They have painted the house twice this year. That is such a waste of money. She has invested a lot of money in that business. I have been, sorry, remodeling the house since March. I have already changed the batteries of that machine. You don't need to do that. I haven't read that book yet. Hopefully, I'll do it soon. Have you ever taken care of a child? It's so hard.
Thank you very much, Martin. All right, so again, let's check the few details that we got. In punctuation, we have some details mainly related to the comma and the semicolon, right? So yes, the one that you said, yes, it's weird. Actually, in grammar, it doesn't make sense that change. But yes, with the present perfect, talking about places, being in a place is going to be actually being to a place, right? Actually, it's not something that we can explain logically, but grammatically we have to use to instead of in or on or at, right? So yes, I've never been to Australia before. And remember, now that you're thinking, because this is like a thought that you have, right? This is a thought that you have after saying that. But as it is a complete idea, it's not just a phrase, all right? It's a complete idea. We have to use semicolon. All right, why? Because it is complete, and to divide two complete ideas, we need or period or semicolon in that case. All right, it's such a beautiful concept. It would happen the same in many of those ones, right? If we realize here, it's also great. We have painted the house twice this year. This is also comments that we say afterwards, but as it is a complete idea that you state and not only a phrase, then it is also going to be with semicolon. All right. It happens the same over here. All right. Why the idea of the complete idea? And here we need the same and even more. Why? Because we have a transitional word that this is actually an adverb that is working as a transitional word. So you're saying this, I haven't read that book yet. And a comment related to that with a transitional word that says after something related to it is I'll do it soon. So we need once again or period or semicolon. I'm just using semicolon in this case. And remember, as this is just the beginning of your new idea, we need to use comma after hopefully. And that will be it in terms of punctuation. In anything else, I believe that we're working very good. I don't have any observations. This one that we mentioned before, but I believe that's it. I believe everything else is working great. We have all the elements that we needed. I'm going to mark them. So let me know, please, if you have comments or questions or anything, Matilde, as I'm marking the expressions that we've used.
No, no questions. I'm thinking. I think I forget one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, there were 8. But yeah, uh,
Okay,
it was clear. Yeah.
great. There you go. Yes, we have the most important ones over here. Yes, already, yet, never, since. Four, that is, no, actually it was only one with four, and this with no expression. This one, yes. So, good. Now, then that's the first one. Actually, but that's the first part of the presentation. We have the second part, but it's the same. We are just going to review in more detail the present perfect continuous. Okay, not only the present perfect, but the present perfect continuous. So only reading. If you have questions, you let me know. We try to have this in some examples, just having a conversation this time, and we finish with this. So let's read only the examples, please. This is the first usage of present perfect continuous.
Okay. I have been studying since Monday. She has not been working for 2 weeks. Have they been paying attention in class? And what have you been doing these days?
Okay, so this is the usage that you told me, right, Matilda? Something that happened in the past and is still happening now, right? So that's the main usage of present perfect continuous. But we have some extra ones. I don't know if we're going to see them here. No, it seems that not. It's going to be part of another presentation. We have this. The common question to use for the present perfect continuous is this one. And it's really interesting and it's very common, right? For example, how long have you been training? And I've been training for or since, right? So questions about periods of time. So very simple questions here, and then you can try to use this yourself in just expressions. So how long have you been, and you told me that before, but just again to practice, how long have you been, I don't know, no, yes, we can call it learning, right? Because we're all learning every time. How long have you been learning English, Matilde? How long have you been learning that language?
I've been learning English um, for a while. I cannot say a time. Uh, yeah, for some years now.
Yes, it is valid, right? We don't remember, or even you can mention a very broad or wide a time expression or period of time, such as you can say, I've been learning English since, right? I was a child, since I was a teenager, since I was in school, or so on, right? So anything is valid over there. Great. Now, how long have you been learning then? I think you're also with French, so French. How long have you been learning French?
Okay, I've been learning French for 4 years.
Okay. All right, 4 years. Yes, that's a lot also. Good. Now, related to the program, how long have you been studying at Executive English?
I've been studying um, for how 2 months, a month and a half.
Okay,
Almost.
okay. Yes, I cannot also say the exact time, but we can mention, right, an approximate. All right, so yes, And again, we can keep going, but the logic behind it, I believe that it's clear how long, right, an action has been happening and it's still happening now, right? Because that's the main usage of present perfect. We have another presentation that is not part of this one in which we're going to see like 3 or 4 extra usages of the present perfect continuous, but it's kind of related to the same, okay? But it has some interesting details that we're going to be covering later on. For now, that's it. I don't know if you have questions about this presentation before going to the introduction or covering actually a very important part of the next one. Let me know, please.
It's clear. Yeah.
All right, good. So let's go to the next one. Again, these ones are very easy, but we need them to cover, all right? It's a requirement of the program. So that's what we have to do. Now, embedded questions. This is also a simple one. Just by reading it, I don't know if you remember covering this with me, Matilde. What do you remember about embedded questions?
Yeah, I remember we saw this part. I remember when I don't know if that's the correct word, but I transform or use a question, but in a different way, like I mean, without the question mark. Like, I don't know where my I don't know where my parents are. So I'm not formulating with where are my parents. It's, yeah, in a different way.
Yes, yes, that's perfect. One thing we can add that, or to that, sorry, but yes, that's great. It's just asking a question or stating a question in a different way, right? And remember that we can say that it's a question inside another question or a question inside a statement, right? That's why what you said is correct, but only if it's inside a statement, we don't use question mark, right? But if it's a question inside another question, we have to still use the question mark. But we don't use the question order, right? It's going to be like statement order, but with a question mark at the end, right? For example, with could you tell me? What question can you put inside that question, Matilde? Could you tell me?
Could you start in with could you tell me?
Exactly. Being, could you tell me the main question and one more question that you can say set inside that one?
Okay. Could you tell me mm, when could you tell me when the program will end?
Yes, it is correct. It's valid. So just that, and there you still use the question mark, right? Not because of the second question that you are adding, but it's because of the first question that is still in the question order, right? So yes, it's question inside another question, right? And so embedded is always going to be something like that, something that you insert inside something else, right? For example, you can embed videos, right, to your web page. You can embed certain programs, right, certain presentations to, again, other web pages, to Google Classroom, for example. I can embed some YouTube videos. I can embed, right, many things. So again, it's going to be something inside something else. In this case, we're talking about videos, or sorry, I'm talking about questions inside other questions or statements. So very simple. We don't need to cover all the main explanation because that is clear. Let's just remember, actually looking at this, I'm going to ask some questions to see if we have. Now, if there's a question word, we keep the word, right? Where, as you did. But what happens when we don't have a question word in our question, the one that we want to put inside another question? What do we use in that case, Matilde? In a yes, no
Mm,
question.
sorry, I didn't get that part.
Yes, in a yes, no question, right? When you
Ah,
want to put a yes, no question inside another question, what is the requirement if you don't have that question word?
okay. Like in a with a do question, like do you need?
Yes, exactly. That can be exactly any
Yeah.
yes, no question, like do you need, did you, have you, were you, in the sense of the verb to be, right? And
Mm,
anything like that. So what do? You don't have what, you don't have when, where. So what do you use instead of that?
okay. I can't remember. I mean, I
Better than if we
yeah.
practice, because actually, if I give you the idea, because you know that, I'm pretty sure that you know it. Um, let's say the beginning is what you said, right? I don't know.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the beginning. I don't know. Now give me a yes no question. Any yes no question. What could it be in the real order?
Like, do you need a new pair of shoes?
Okay, so do you need, right? Do you need, that's part of your yes no question. So how do you mix? I don't know and the yes no question. And let's try to change the subject to make it even better. Like does she? Okay, does she need, I don't know, right? A pair of something or something. So how do you mix I don't know with does she need something or anything?
Oh yeah, the if
Okay,
yeah, like I don't know if she needs a new pair of shoes.
very good. Good. And we have one more option. What is the same of if that we can add as a as an alternative?
Um,
With this one, you can add the expression or not. That's what it lets you.
or not.
Uh-huh. This word starts with a W, and it's the same as if, but it's an option that you have. Instead of using if, you can use this other expression. What
Whether?
could it be? Whether. Uh-huh, exactly. Uh-huh. You can use if
Okay.
or whether, right? Talk about yes no questions. When you don't have the WH word, you have to use this, right? Again, it's something that we're just making this or write some rules in case we have to, I don't know, right? Be sure that our idea is good because sometimes when what we're saying is complex, the rules can help us understand if that's really correct or not, right? Because with simple ideas, it's easy to get. When we formulate more complex ideas, we can have some complications sometimes. But that's it. So you have your question word, you use your question word. If you don't have it, you use if or whether, and whether gives you the option of using or not at the end, right? So you can say, I don't know whether she needs anything or something or not, right? So that can be an alternative. So that's it. You know that you use normal sentence grammar, right? The order, the period, if it's a statement, and the question mark, if it's a question, of course. And these are some expressions. So just to remember these expressions, Matilde, let's read them all, please. Beginning with wonder up to forget.
Okay. Wonder, I wonder why she said that. No, they don't know what they're doing. Remember, we don't remember where the house is. Be sure, I'm not sure when we're going to arrive. Find out. Let's find out what time the show starts. Think about, she's thinking about how she's going to do it. Forget, I forgotten why you started this.
Okay, thank you. And we also have asked these possibilities to start with questions. Of course, we have more. If you can insert a question inside that, anything can be valid. So to do this, actually, please, Matilde, you're not only going to read, you're going to give me one example for each. All right, for example, do you know? Add one question over there. Okay, could you tell me? Add one question over there, and you can play between WH questions and yes no questions. All right, so for the first one, please, for do you know, use a WH question. Anything. It can be, and actually, we're going to be also changing that. This one, please, in present and with third person. Okay, he, she, it. So,
Mhm.
what can you ask with that?
Um, do you know um, do you know where she's coming from?
Okay, yes, that's in this case present. Present continuous. Yes, that's one.
Yeah.
And could you tell me? Let's work here in past. Okay, in past, any tense that you want. Oh, sorry, not tense. Any, uh, it's going to be past. Yes, any tense. Actually, it can be past continuous, simple past, present perfect. Okay, any of those past tenses and any subject that you want. So, what do you say? Could you tell
Could you tell me um, where have you been all this time?
me? Okay. Just one detail. Remember, it has to be with no inversion. So instead of where have you been, it is going to be where you have been,
Oh yeah, right.
right? Just because
Yeah,
of the order. Yes,
yeah.
perfect. Could you tell me where you've been this time? Great. Is it possible to know here? Let's use please future. Future and any idea that you have. And in this case, sorry, let's also make it with a yes no question.
Is it possible to know if you mm, is it possible to know if you will be visiting us the
Mhm.
next the next holiday?
Okay, yes, good. And the last one, this is going to be a little bit, well, not hard, but it's going to be harder than the other ones. A past perfect. Okay, in past perfect, remember that you always need two parts. You need the past perfect and the second action in the simple past. And also, it has to be a question in the past perfect with the simple past idea in a yes no question with whether. All right, so what can you ask? Would you mind telling me? Yes no question, past perfect with simple past to have the two complete ideas.
Okay. Would you mind telling me? Sorry, you said with W with the
Yes no question.
yes no
Whether,
question.
exactly. If it's whether, is yes no question.
Ah,
Correct.
yeah, right. You said weather. Sorry. Weather. Would you mind telling me mm, whether I'm trying to mix the past perfect with the past simple. Mm, 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 mm.
It can
Would
be
you mind?
tricky, right? What could it be?
Would you mind telling me whether you had changed the light bulb or not?
Uh-huh. It is good. And we need the second action because to use the past perfect, we always need a second action to justify the usage.
Yeah, I'm thinking of that one. Um,
Just to help you out, remember that you have four alternatives to connect the second idea. You can say by the time, when, before, or after. Okay, to mix with the simple past.
okay. Um, by the time I arrived home,
It's valid. Again, in terms of saying that and having everything right in its correct place and making sense, it's great. Let's repeat just to verify that everything
okay,
is in order.
yeah,
One more time, please.
okay. So I said, would you mind telling me whether what I have said? Would you mind telling me whether changed you had changed the light bulb um, by the time I arrived home?
Yes, yes, it's correct. And imagine, again, you can see if you want to see that in practice or write embedded questions like that and the usage of past perfect. If you see trials, all right, in trials, right, lawyers, they ask a lot of these questions. If an action happened before another action in the past, just to verify if it makes sense. Or even in management or right activities. For example, imagine that I want to do something, and I can give you a real example, right? Something that happened to me. I was not able to also write, let's say, to present to hand in one assignment on time. And it happened already many months ago. And I had a complaint about that because I believe that's something that happened. And the administrator had to ask the professor that was in charge of the platform if I had sent that assignment before, all right, the due date or before, all right, the assigned time for that specific, all right, assignment. So again, it's just verifying if something happened, right, in the past before a specific date, before a specific event in the past. That, remember, can be simple past, but not always. You can also mention just a date in the past or a specific event that can be a specific holiday or Christmas or anything, but always in past, right? Always in past. So good. That's it. And here we're just playing, adding that to another question that is going to make them. Remember, the main usage or the main purpose of embedded questions is formality, right? Because if you ask just a direct question in some situations or context, it is going to be too informal, too direct, or right answer, sometimes rude. So it's always a good idea to ask embedded questions to make them, again, more formal and more polite, even. So that's it. That's the clarification I wanted to give. The examples were great. And with that, again, we are finishing the second lesson that we had for today. And I believe that we got to use 5 extra minutes for today. That it's great. You have the formulas over here, and over here for yes, no questions and WH questions. But again, you know this, it is just to have it just in case. Now, I don't know if you have questions or comments before finishing. Now, Matilda, let me know, please.
No, it was very clear.
All right, so let me just verify something before we end. We have that. We still have, all right, 4 classes to go. So I believe that yes, we're going to be able to cover most of them to have extra time. Okay, I'm thinking of the possibility to have extra time to work with some extra things as we always do, but to have more time for them. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to do that. Just yes, you're going to remind me something, but I believe I'm going to remember. We're going to cover just one presentation, and then we're going to work with some essays or the speaking practice that we haven't been practicing, all right, for some time. So it's going to be important to practice that again. So that's it. I'm sharing, please, the polls. Today we have two this time: the usual daily survey and the midterm, because we're in the 4th class.
Okay.
All right, so one more, please. That is this one over here. So that's it. Thanks for being here. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow, Matilde.
Thank you. Good night. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Good night.